Hey everyone, I'm Wa.
And I'm Kristen. Welcome to Docu Sweeties.
We're two longtime friends who discuss the riveting and sometimes trashy world of reality TV and docuseries.
Yes, but through our own lens, which can be Father's Day or Mother's Day or where's Daughter's Day? Let's talk about that. But at the end of the day, hopefully mildly sweet, which is like, you know what? Everyone deserves a day, I guess.
There should be.
Yeah, I think so too. But you know what? We should make every day Daughter's Day. Okay. You know, no? We should make it. Let me try it again. We should
Every
make
day.
every day Daughter's Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah. Thank you. This is what we're talking about: the Jinx, the life and deaths of Robert Durst. This is season 2, episode 6. It's the last episode. It takes a village. This is on Max, of course. The first season was on this thing called HBO. Do you remember what that is? But we are closing out season 2 with this, and this has been great to watch because A, I watched the first season and I loved it, and B, it pretty much started like the docuseries movement. But also, I've loved watching it with you because you didn't watch it, and I think it's fascinating and like incredibly well done and horribly engrossing with how ridiculous the details are, as well as, and I really give it to the storytelling of the producers because it's also hilarious. Parts of it to me are funny as fuck. And they talk about even that in relationship to the trial and courtroom and setting itself. But I think that that translates to like the telling of this docuseries.
I think there's just a lot of information. However, this episode is unnecessary. I don't know what this episode has to do with anything.
It's interesting. It's like I always wanted to hear from his family. So I'm so happy we get to. You know what I'm saying? Like that was a missing piece the entire time. Now, if they had weaved that in within the first episodes, I wonder how they would have done that. It makes sense also that they would have the trial and then verdict, obviously guilty, and then what would happen next, of course, which is sentencing, and ultimately, which maybe wasn't surprising to you, his death. I mean, he
Yeah.
died.
The most interesting thing I think about Bob is that he never had kids. That's
That's the
I
most
think
interesting.
that to
That's
me that's
sorry.
the most interesting thing. Everything else is just like it just feels like it happened in a time where there's no record of anything. So it's just all this like, where's the body? I wanted where's the body? Why did he kill the neighbor? Why did he let go of Kathy? Like, I don't know. I just am like, it feels very loose ended to me. And the fact that he again lived most of his life scot-free is like, ugh. Now his family, I think what they could have done is they could have added him to episode 5 when he's like, we played Uno, cut to brother. We hated him. Cut. We were such a loving family. Cut to the other brother. My first memory of Bob is him hitting me. Like I wanted that. Like I needed them to be
Mm.
more giving me more about how Bob was this like horrible person. But it feels like there's no evidence of him beating Kathy. There's no evidence of anybody else any other girlfriends that he had. I want them to come through and talk about how Bob was such a terrible person. I just then we've got his money hungry marriage of convenience wife who is like just I mean sometimes when you hear about greed and you hear about sometimes folks that have a lot of money being very much like it's my money, I want my money, and but then seeing it is like kind of disgusting, and like but the thing is
Yes.
also like it but I understand that it's human nature. Like I understand that I come from a place of not having any money. So right now in my life, I think to myself, if I had a bunch of money and whatever, I would be this way, but I don't know. So I don't want to judge it too much. But Debbie, like she's another like just like the wrong side of go getter, you know? Anyways, let's start. It's all of Bob's siblings. We start to do a thing where they start to interview Bob's siblings, and I don't think the interviews are with. I think they're deposed. I think they're depositions that we're seeing. I
Yeah.
don't think they're with Jarecki. So
Oh, you're right.
these are
Yeah.
the depositions of his siblings, and they're like, "What did you think of Bob?" Or like, how was Bob as a kid? Oh, he was mean. He used to hit us. Um, okay. How was how was this? Oh no, my first memory, his second brother, his second youngest brother is like, my first memory of Bob is him hitting me. That's a shitty ass first memory of somebody. They had a very dysfunctional family. It reminds me of like the what's the people the Hammers that we saw, the original,
Army
the
Hammer.
document,
Yeah.
yeah, Army Hammer's family, where it's just like, oh, the dysfunction. And then we get to the one of the brothers, and you mentioned this in the last episode, that one of the brothers was like, yeah, dad wasn't around, you know. It was like whenever he was, though, it was like the duke coming to visit. It's almost like he wasn't a part of the family. um and then it's just like, at what cost does this family have all this money to where the husband is never around, the wife kills herself presumably in front of her children? I don't know who else was there, but like, how callous and crazy is it as a mother, parent, to kill yourself in a place in which your children can find you?
Yeah, I mean that yeah. Also that the mental disease that might be running through that family, like in that sense. Yeah, so basically one other point of contention is the Dursts are getting interviewed, they are deposed to talk about the civil suit for the McCormicks. The McCormick family, which of course is Kathy Durst's family, Kathy McCormick was her first name or last name. She obviously went missing. And during the time that she went missing, the Durst family never reached out to them at all, never offered one morsel of support or holy shit or what can we do to find her? Not one flyer, not anything. Again, they are rich as fuck, upper, like, and this woman is in your family, that she's married to him, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it just obviously reeked of the fact that they knew that he had something to do with it. So that was wild. And so one of the first questions they also ask Douglas is like, the fuck, why didn't you ever reach out to her family? And he's like, I didn't think it was my place.
Yeah.
They're having meetings as this is like Succession style. Like they're having corporate meetings as a family like once a week to like talk about the multi-million dollar investments and how to do certain things and move as a family. Like this is I mean, I'll never know this kind of work. It's like, but it's like I just feel like it's Succession-esque,
It's Succession. It also sounds a little bit, I haven't seen Succession, but it's also Yellowstone a little bit. It's like,
Yes.
when you do have so much money, you do have to run your family almost like a corporation so that they can understand the severity of like the situation. Like, they need to understand that there are P's and Q's, there are dots and crosses, there's I's to be dotted, there's T's to be crossed, and you need to know who to call. You need to know when to make the call. You need to know when to not make the call, when to not talk about things. And the truth is like, if they had reached out to the McCormicks, and the McCormicks might have been like, do you know anything? Do you have like, who, what would Bob say? Like, so they were like, oh no, let me just go ahead and recuse myself from this situation. That's Bob and his people. Like, we don't really fuck with Bob because he's an evil demon. And yeah, the truth is, yeah, I do think that he killed her. Yeah, I absolutely do, because he is to me, I'm like, oh, they know Bob's been killing cats and dogs and like all manner of like shenanigans his entire life. And their parents never did anything to protect them from Bob. So it's like, that's none of my business. The only business that we have together is the running of this Durst empire. That family shit. Mm-mm.
It's like you can't get I'm like, how do you get a conservatorship for somebody you think is a psychopath? I mean, I don't know what you can do, but they didn't do enough. Basically, also the sister, when they had that meeting, Robert Durst comes in with muddy boots, and she's like, "Oh, we fucking killed her," and he went and buried her,
Yep.
which we've already heard in the 5th episode, where he says that where Kathy was buried, which was weird that he would say that, obviously, or not weird, depending on how you're looking at it now, and they made reference to some forested area. I'm assuming in upper New York or New York somewhere, that was the probable place that she was buried, due to either his proximity to that place and the fact that the day before or after he had made purchases at a nearby town. So the sister knows, and that's also horrifying. And they talk about Debbie, like So talk about his wife. Like, how do you feel about his wife? Because Debbie runs the trust and all of his money, everything. And
Mhm.
we remember Debbie had run, oh shit, I'm so sorry. Um,
Debbie
Debbie had
runs.
run
You want me to do
all
it?
female real estate. Sorry,
Mhm.
my phone had just fallen. An all female real estate firm. And so she's been knowing businesses and stuff like that. They've been married for like 20 years. And obviously, since he's been in prison, she's been like keeping the purse strings tight to her, honey, like a fanny pack, like a very,
Mhm.
I mean, she's like, it's right there. She's not letting
Mhm.
anyone go. So, the family hated Debbie. They're like, yeah, I know when we first met her, we were like, she's trash, she's disgusting. They're like Susan Bermering her. Like, we can't deal. Like, she was just, that also felt like Succession to me. She probably walked in, they were probably like so rich, and they probably saw this just like trash woman, and they were just like, oh my God, probably fucked up out of her mind. And they were just like, her, we can't even deal.
They didn't like Susan Berman either.
No, I'm
I
so
missed
sorry.
that.
You know how Susan Berman talked trash about
Oh. Mhm, 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 mhm.
McCormick's.
Kathy. Yeah,
This,
yeah.
yeah. Now we have, yeah, like the Durst talking shit about her.
Yeah, they really thought that she was a gold digger. And it's interesting because like I'm like, how so okay, this is how we get Debbie. So we get Debbie because of Nick, right? Uh
No,
uh
that was Susie. That Susie was Nick's
well,
assistant.
Nick's wife is was working for
Oh,
Debbie.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm
Yes.
trying to figure out, when did Debbie come into the picture?
At a charity event, she comes in. Yes, you're right. She doesn't. Nick never liked her, but she sees that Nick is with Robert Durst. She's like, "Hey, Nick. Hey, can you introduce me to your friend?"
And Nick's like, well, yeah, I can. However, you just so you know that there's rumors that he killed his first wife. But I know for sure he beat her. And there's also whatever, whatever, whatever. And she's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. He's not gonna kill me.
She's like, "Say less."
Yeah. So like so then that's how they get introduced. But like at this time, we're like, was there beef between Debbie and Susan? Because it feels like Susan maybe wanted to marry Bobby.
Yes, and also Debbie hated Susan.
Yes. They had a very contentious relationship. And so it would seem like just
Yes.
interesting that, like, give us more of that. Like, I would like to know more about those interpersonal relationships, because why does Debbie retain a criminal lawyer? Then the crazy thing is that he killed Susan very shortly the next day after he married Debbie. Did Debbie tell him to kill Susan? Did Robert tell Debbie about Kathy? Because that's what I think too. If Debbie already knew that he might have killed his first wife, maybe
Yeah.
when they got married, and she's like, listen, Bobby, I'll take care of you until you die. I'll watch your money. I'll do whatever. So here's what we're gonna do: is you got to tell me all your skeletons. You got to tell me everything that's going on. All right. Tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me, tell me. And so then he does. He tells her. He's like, yeah, I did kill Kathy. The only person who knows about it for sure is Susan. And she's like, well, now me and Susan know. So one of us can't live. And maybe that's the whole thing, that's what Susan was saying to her friend when she's like, I'm going to blow this whole thing open. Maybe Susan, like threatened Bob and was like, if you marry Debbie, I'm going to tell people that you killed Kathy. And so then he's like, oh. So then and he's like, he didn't want to marry Susan. So he marries Debbie. Like, I just need to know. Maybe Susan wasn't good with money and Debbie was. Like, I just need to know.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think that is crux. Susan is a failed writer living in Benedict Canyon and not making any money, says her manager. She needs something. She like has her, even her friends and her neighbors are like, she was desperate. She said she was going to blow something open. I think that she was going to desperately and manically try and get Robert to give her some money and holding over that what she had done for Kathy Durst. I think during this time in New York, and of course, Susan's in California, Robert is confiding in Debbie more and more, and they might be even fucked up on drugs. And Debbie is taking it in and giving him solutions. And I think Susan was probably someone that also gave him advice and solutions, but Debbie is smart in a different way. You know what I'm saying? And I think even more vicious, even more cold. And so he was able to rely on that in such a way. By the way, I think that both women gave him low key probably a mother energy that allowed him to trust them in some way. For some reason, Debbie was just able to get like assume a loyalness to him that he was like, okay, I choose you, and you're smarter with money. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think that Susan, I think that's what it was. I think that Susan like threatened him or something like that. It was like,
Yeah,
give me
and
some money.
he marries Debbie on the 11th, and on the 12th he had a one-way ticket to California to kill Susan.
Yes.
Like, yeah, so Debbie says that Susan was a maniac. And then when they ask her, do you think that Bob killed Susan? She's like, I respect what the jury said.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, but do you think
Do you think?
it? And she's like, well, I think that yes, I respect what the jury said. Like, it's like she says yes and then finishes it up with something else, like, whatever.
Well, I wonder what the legal ramification of that. Like, there's something about her phrasing there that is like what Alan Abramson said to say. Like,
yeah,
she has to admit, she doesn't want to admit complete knowledge of guilt or understanding of guilt, but wants to just like politically PC say that she accepts what the jury said so as not upset the court. It's a very nuanced, meticulous wording, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
sorry.
like she's like, listen, I don't want to. I'm not going to say yes, but I'm also not going to say no. I'm going to say no in a way that lets you believe that yes is the answer. So it's really interesting. So
Yes.
she is the executor of the trust, and the trust is what I'm assuming is his portion of his family's wealth.
Yes.
And it's a separate entity than him himself. Like, he must get money from the trust on a annual or monthly basis or something like that. And so, he only has $100,000, but that's debt. He has $100,000 to $250,000 in debt, and he's probably waiting for the trust to give him some money. So when he's being sued or whatnot, or when things are happening, she's like, oh no, the trust is a separate entity.
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with Robert Durst, even though it's like, this
His
is the
name.
trust of Robert. Yeah, it fully has his name on it. But it's like, no, it's not, it's the entity Robert Durst versus the person Robert Durst. Come with us. This is rich people speak. This
LLC.
This is how we keep our money. And
Yep.
So just very much like that. And
limited
then
liability, honey. Yeah, like think about it this way. When you are so rich, he could have a portfolio of investments that he has every year, and he gets paid only the interest off the principal. So like he's getting, let's say that he has $100 million, just to make like, and let's say every year he gets 20%. So 20 million every year. I mean, obviously it's more, you know what I'm saying? And so the trust is just accumulating that alone. Not even any other investments that anyone else is making. And so again, yeah, like he as a person gets nothing, and they knew that this was going to be happening. They knew that he could be sued for civil lawsuits. Like, they have recordings of her and him sort of talking about this, and she is very smart with money and is in New York and definitely has hired people to be as ruthless and calculating and as her, and she's been like locking shit up. This is
she is, and she is diabolical with it. She's not even paying his fucking legal bills. So that's probably part of the why they did a terrible job. She's not actually paying, and he's like, Debbie, I need you to pay the bill. And she's like, oh, I will. I thought I did. Oh, I don't like the way they're treating you, Bob. I'm not going to pay them. And he's like, no, they're making it seem like you don't want to pay them. So I need you to fucking pay them, bitch. Like, he like says that, basically says that to her over video call, and she's just like, oh god, I just, she took that, the trust ends up having a bunch of property in New York City. She is a slum lord because she's not fixing anything, and then certain tenements, she's, oh god, the word tenement is like such a, it's just like,
let me make one. She took the money from the trust and then put that in her own business. So now we're just moving money. So it's not the trust yet. So she takes her portion, like, let's just say, and then she made her own fucking business with the proceeds of that, and then now invests that and has already grown that business, because of money, when you have that much money, you can easily make money. Like, if you can buy a building for 40 fucking million and then flip it and then sell it for 65, you've already made 15 million. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And then you can just do it over and over fucking again. At some point it's crazy,
Yeah. So she like is making money in her own right. and she's the purse. She is the purse. She's the person holding the strings to the purse. And he is like having to like go through her for Susie to get paid. So Susie is this floozy that used to be the Nick's assistant that wants to, marry Rich too, and she doesn't want to give Susie any money. But the thing is, though, we find out that they have a marriage of convenience. They're not having sex. They're not in love. She fully has a boyfriend that she has been with for the last 25 years, who is wonderfully okay, because he probably makes money in his own right, is wonderfully okay with her being married to Bob, not married to him, and her having her own money and them living a fabulous life. And so that's her business, is being married to a very rich man and taking care of his money. So when his like little hoes want money and his friends want to buy Lexuses or BMWs, she's the one who does it. It all goes through her. And so then when he gets into jail, she's even worse. She like doesn't want to give him money, doesn't want to pay the bills, the things that he's promised people. And he has to like, Deborah, paid our bills, Deborah. And she's like, I'm just trying to save you money, Bob. I'm just trying to look out for your interest. I don't think that you should give her 50. Give her 25. She'll be fine. She knows how to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Yeah, Debbie's like calculating ruthlessness is just so funny to me. I love the idea that we had to get Emily Altman for some reason a car. I wonder what they did, but they had to get Emily and Altman a car, and she wanted like a low grade Lexus. Okay. And so like there's this phone call where Robert's like, thank God she wants the mid-level Lexus. And Debbie's like, oh, good, honey, I'll give her my Lexus guy. And you know me, I'm always trying to save $1. So she's going to get this year's model, honey. She's not going to get next year's model, which is, I wonder what she did to get that Lexus. So yeah, it's interesting. And that Lexus is going to come back and bite them in the butt when Emily was like, you know what I'm going to fucking do? Because you didn't get me the new Lexus. Say that you were in fucking California.
Yeah.
There. Could have been a Maybach. Yeah. So, yeah, Debbie is, you're right, just going to charity events and living the high life in New York, going to events with her boo. Everyone thinks they're married, they don't give a fuck. Everyone knows, of course, her situation in New York. New York society like that obviously knows that she is Robert Durst's wife, and they obviously know, because the Jinx been on for at least the past 6 years, that she is a conniving, disgusting, murderous woman. And I assume she still gets invites to places. And I want to know, like, now I want to like do a deep dive and see like who the fuck is hanging out with her, because she has a house in the Hamptons. There's like hangers on.
Yeah, she's rich. There's nothing.
I know
like,
it.
So it's just like you especially if you're rich and you want to be in society. Like I just can't imagine.
So basically, the McCormicks cannot get Debbie to just like give them like a settlement that's like worthwhile, because she's like so, unfortunately, I would say not smart about money, but like greedy about money in both situations, hoarding money, just like that she's so miserly that she has been able to like, take it and then make so much money and not feel the need to like give any sort of repentance to this family.
Yeah. Yeah, sister, like the Durst family hate her. Like it's just so very interesting and cutthroat and, obviously murderous.
She has a son. I did some research. The son is, guess what, in real estate. You can only imagine. His name is Bonat Cheriton. Her name sounds like charlatan, which is so funny. Bennett Berger, he changed his name, or maybe he goes by his dad's name, or maybe Berger is I don't know, is an entrepreneur, investor, and tech writer based in New York City. He is co-founder and principal at Novel Property Ventures, a real estate firm that specializes in amassing and managing multifamily residential units in New York City. Sounds familiar. He's also founding partner in the investment firm Novel Private Equity, where he oversees investments across a diverse range of, this means like it's made by AI, Yeah. Early life and career. He was born and spent his early childhood in New York. At age 12, the Manhattan native moved to San Diego, where he studied at Torrey Pines High School. I think he moved in with his dad. I think that she lost custody. Following his graduation in 2002, he enrolled at Dartmouth and embarked on English literature and creative writing. Yeah, so anyway, that's...
Dartmouth has a pretty campus. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just they went in on Debbie, and I didn't need them to. I wanted more information about Durst. So overall, yes, was it a good documentary? One of the better ones we've watched for sure. Teal Swan is still at the top of my list though of the documentaries we've watched. Like I always want to know more about her.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, I mean, because she's still out there. Though the other thing about Teal Swan is that, like, she's still making content.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Mother Earth isn't. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if those people are.
Love is
We should look.
one. Yeah,
She's
there's
obviously
one.
dead. You know, I wonder if
Yeah.
they got a new one. You know, since then, have you heard of anyone doing colloidal silver?
No, but Monique has.
Oh, yeah,
Monique had that person on set who was doing. She
yeah.
was like, "He's blue." Like, okay, guys, he's blue.
I
We're like,
know,
okay,
God.
okay.
That's so wild. I just like thought the other day, like this is just all over the place, but this is, don't worry, we'll end this soon. But I was watching maybe one of the first Mission Impossibles or something with one where Philip Seymour Hoffman was in it, and I was like, oh my God, I loved you. I remember you when you were still alive, and I just remember seeing how loving your performances. I wish we got to see like more. Anyway, I wonder if Tom Cruise would ever leave Scientology.
I don't think so. I don't think him and John Travolta would leave. I think if they're part of those group of people who, once they realize that something might not be the best, but it worked for them, like the amount of being in the public and needing to have public opinion be so positive towards them, I don't think that they ever would. You know, it's kind of like every time I see Ariana Grande now, it's not the same, but let me just say this. Every time I see Ariana Grande now, I think to myself, why hasn't she said anything about
She did quiet on set.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, I put it to Docu Sweeties, I think the other day. She was saying how she was watching old clips and she can't believe that she did that shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just feels to me, it's like I don't understand where the PR teams are now with certain things, but I think that they need to make people talk about the elephant in the room or the thing that we want to know, right? Like where's Farnsworth Bentley? And he needs to talk about Diddy. Like
I think about that all the time. I literally, I can't believe, I like, you know, like we're like, you know, like Shannon Sharp, like give him on a podcast. Like how is no one like thrown?
Like
I know
everyone needs to come forward now about Diddy.
Yes.
Why are we not coming forward? Like, you do remember you remember obviously Cat Williams. Okay, so remember when Cat Williams Chronicle of a Pimp? Remember when he says that he goes to parties? Remember the joke that he said that sometimes you go to Hollywood parties and you're like, is that he walks into a room? I'll have to see. I never knew what he was talking about, and everyone's like now, like, oh no, that's what he was talking about. That's what he was talking about. Like, it's just like I need everyone to come forward. Let's just bring it to the light. But people are like, oh, we don't want that. We don't want, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I need to know. I need everyone to come forward and tell me. I love that Keenan was like, that ain't never happened to me, but I'm sorry for who it did. You know what I mean? Like, I need everyone to tell us their stories now. And I mean, I get it. You don't have to if you don't want to, and that's fair. But then if you don't want to, then don't expect me to watch your shows. That's the way I feel.
I know what you're saying. I mean, recently, I think I told you because I could talk about. I won't always talk about her at every episode, but like, so Britney Spears put a post that she had done saying how much she enjoyed like looking at something that Wade Robson had recently done, like, and like was like, oh, he's so strong and what a story, and like, you know, like, thank you so much. It took so much to like, you know, blah blah blue, and that's fascinating to me for like obviously all the reasons. A, because they fucked, and also B, because she's crazy, also C, because he's gone through it, also D, because of Michael Jackson, also C, you know, like Nick, and you know, so I just like, it was just like, I want, like, when that happened, I was like, because that was like commenting on that, but I wish she would comment more, you know, I wish that he would comment
but
more.
she wasn't there. She never worked with Michael Jackson. Britney?
Oh, she did. Okay, so during the so remember when she did that one thing with him, that was because of Wade.
Oh, when she walked out on stage, everybody walked out on stage that day though. But like, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying to you is that I just want everyone, I don't know. That was back then. I feel like the Michael Jackson controversy is like the early aughts. I'm talking about now. I want everyone to just be like straight up, but I get it. If it's traumatic for you and you're just like, listen, I tried to put that Diddy shit behind me. And I don't want to talk about it, but it just feels like I'm just waiting for everyone to just come out and tell us what happened. Just tell me what happened, because
well, we're
that's the only way people are going to learn to
And
stand up
heal.
for themselves. That's the only way people are going to like have the courage to do whatever. Now, if you don't want to because of trauma, I get it. But I just wish everybody could and would do that.
Mhm.
So these unsolved mysteries are really
But basically, yeah, like, it's wild for Robert Durst. And you're right, this is like not the most important episode because it's not that much. Basically, he obviously, other things that happen in this episode is that he is sentenced, right? As we said, he's sentenced to life in prison, no possibility of parole. In the middle of filming, they get a phone call that he has died. So Debbie gets
Mhm,
to just run shit now,
mhm,
which she's already been doing. And now she just doesn't have anyone to even answer to at all. And she never has to pay another mortgage for some dumb floozy Susie
mm-mm,
ever again.
mm-mm.
She's so happy about that part, and she's fucking sick of the Altman. She hated everyone in his life. She hates his family, hated Berman. She probably hated she probably hated him. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, it is crazy how much she got away with this stuff and how her son got away with. But then also the intricate other people that just got things all the time. I mean, they try and interview like the witness that turned into the friend that
Mhm. From the Galveston.
yeah, that cleaned up his apartment, and it was just this really horrible underbelly of cockroaches scattering
Oof.
that were just there to eat whatever crumbs Robert Durst would throw at them. And then it was just, and he was a rat. He's just cockroaches eating from a rat.
Oof.
I mean, and all
Cockroaches.
diseased. It was just, that part is the grossest part completely. And it's wild to me that there would be any parts that you would laugh out or whatever, which is why I think that I guess it's done well, because there are parts when Robert Durst is being questioned that he is so ridiculous. And it's crazy that there's other parts in season 1 I really want you to watch. So in the
Mhm.
Galveston, he like dressed up as a female. Like there's all these there's all these details about the Galveston I think you should know, and also about Kathy that they really go into in season 1. Like when he was on the run, he was dressing as a woman, like that wasn't the first time that he had that like
Oh my
he's a crazy
gosh.
person, like not that you'd be a crazy person to dress as a woman, obviously. I'm not saying that, but you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying. There's other details, crazier details about him and his journey, and I think about all of that and living, like on a miserly budget in Galveston. Now thinking about how Debbie is living between two fucking homes, and it's interesting because you're right. He did get away with murder, but way before he actually got sentenced, she already had like the best life, and he pretty much was like on the run after the Jinx and whatnot, just living disgustingly. It's so the Jinx was, and again, to watch season 2 with season 1 threaded throughout in the trial and as things are happening is so interesting. But it's if season 1 hadn't happened, I wonder if he would have ever even gotten justice at all to hand it to him. And I don't think so. And it's like how ridiculous the outcry was. Well as for some reason he didn't plan on being so dumb. They must have known that he was a narcissist, and that if they just cornered him with the facts, with the truth, that he would somehow out himself in some way. Like, I wonder if that was what the plan was, and if because if you are a narcissist that thinks you're smarter than others, but you're not, and there are people smarter than you can be cornered like a rat would, and
Mhm,
then you would
mhm,
have to
mhm,
like give up yourself in some way. And if that was the ultimate goal, if they had planned that, I just like human behavior is fascinating. And
mhm,
how
mhm.
that they did that should be congratulated. And Jesus Christ, it's like that's crazy. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to see the visuals of what you're listening to, please join us on patreon.com/docusweeties for $10 a month. You get exclusive content such as the visuals and a live every first Monday of the month. So if you're interested in that, please join us. I've also created a book club on there, so if you're interested in that, please join. If you cannot do that, Chris will tell you the ways that you can support us for free. Chris?
Go to our social medias and follow at DocuSweeties on Instagram, at DocuSweeties on TikTok, at DocuSweeties1 DocuSweeties1 on X. We have a Facebook group, the DocuSweeties Podcast Facebook group. If you haven't joined our YouTube and seen what's happening there, that's great. Or given us a 5-star review, that also would be lovely. Other than that, thank you so much for spending any amount of time with us, listening to this voice and that voice. We love you so much, and we'll talk to you later, okay?
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.